Rolling.
Are we rolling? Are we
Yeah,
good?
yeah, we're good.
We're good. We're rolling.
Sit down.
All right. So we're going to explain to you guys how the government is manipulating you, how they've lied to you, and other conspiracy theories that are
All of
completely
them.
every last no, that's just wrong.
Most of them.
A lot of them. And
Several.
The ones that are completely wrong, the ones
Right
that
on.
were completely proven right, and the ones that have not yet been proven,
Yep.
but have strong evidence to prove it.
Very
now,
strong.
The origin of the conspiracy theory is unknown, but the first conspiracy theory regarding the United States government was back when the founding fathers were making this country.
Hell yeah, dude.
Hell yeah! And so the whole idea is that they made the capital on this terrible, terrible swamp that we now know as Washington, D.C.
Haunted as shit.
If you've ever been to Washington, D.C., you know that the traffic,
Satan land.
It's terrible. It's like
Witches.
one-way streets from 3 to 6, and then two ways from 6 to 9, and then one way from
Fire
9 to
and
12.
lights
It's just,
on them.
it's just
Crazy,
It's
man.
just a mess.
It's
just,
madness.
It's like
It's
worse than
chaos.
Baltimore.
yeah, dude, it's loony. So this whole idea is that they built it there because there's a vortex that goes down to hell,
man.
and the vortex is the center
to
of
hell.
Satan's power, and that these founding fathers were Satanists who wanted
crack
to,
Satan.
who wanted to harness the dark power of Satan and have it to the government. So I'm going to show you a map of what the Washington D.C. looks like, right? It's
I'm not gonna
centered
believe
in a
this.
pentagram. There's 4 circles. The
Insane.
Steven
Devin, you
circle-
can just edit a picture onto your iMovie.
Alright, so like right now you'll be seeing a picture
So
of this.
there's
of
gonna
this
be
Yeah,
picture-
there is a picture of
And
this
it's
right
right
now
now.
in the
Eyes are looking
future.
at
The
it.
White House is
Where are
down,
you?
down at the center of this, and the whole idea was the pentagram would harness the dark power of Satan and give the president the all the dark the force of Satan, and that they wanted to make a new world order. And if you look on the back of a $1 bill, there's the all-seeing eye, which is a symbol, and it says something in Latin that means new world order. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but it's there. Just trust me. And so, the original conspiracy theory surrounding the United States
My
government.
arm is getting tired.
Wow.
What if-
Why don't you cry about it, Jeremy?
Yeah.
I'll switch off. Just keep
And
it
so-
going.
And
We're
so,
not gonna pay you.
mostly it was Benjamin Franklin, one of the most influential people
A
around
womanizer.
the government. And
Legend.
some of
Crushed.
this is that there were 5 skeletons found beneath his house that are dated to back when he was living there. And really, he was just a scientist, and he wanted the experiment body, so they were likely dead already. But you'd never know if they were doing
They could have, yeah.
if they were doing
Could have
satanic
killed a bunch
rituals.
of demons, just hit them in the basement. It's like,
Exactly, they could have
could have been robots.
You never know, but so people think that the founding fathers and the Freemasons in London and the U.S. were Satanists, and they were
Same
doing
thing, man.
human sacrifices that would try to make the
Trying to make America great again.
Exactly.
and so there were Satanists. And that they built Washington D.C. in this horrible place, this horrible city design, just to have the pentagram harness
swamp.
the dark power
they
towards
built there,
the
it's a
White
swamp.
House. So that's the origins of the United States government and their conspiracy. Now, moving on past that are some conspiracy theories that are just completely false. They make 0 sense whatsoever. The most prevalent one in this day and age is that Bush did 9/11 and that he orchestrated the whole thing. Now, that's just it's debated that he may or may not.
Good meme though.
Good memes.
Jet fuel can't melt dank
Certified.
meat.
Seinfeld did 9/11.
It's so that Bush did 9/11, and there's debate that he may or may not have known about it and had CIA stuff to, check people.
Probably knew about it, but he just kind of let it happen.
And the theory is that they orchestrated 9/11 in order to have the Patriot Act, which allowed for legal spying.
Didn't
on
work
people.
out for him well.
And the more
yeah, it did help him.
the idea that arose from is that as around the time the Patriot Act was going to expire, the original Patriot Act expired by 9/11, not which is in fact the second World Trade Center attack. The first was in 1993, but there's no conspiracies about that. But so, Patriot Act started to expire around the time that ISIS began to come to America. And so the whole idea is that the U.S. government creates these terrorist threats around times of
all
crisis in
fake,
order
man.
to better spy on
Filthy.
their people. So that's
Gross.
Bush did 9/11. There's no evidence.
He's still a schmuck.
There's basic evidence that he may have known about it, but not that
Probably
he
knew about it.
not that he did.
He's not smart enough to do 9/11.
And so that's one just completely wrong conspiracy theory. The other is the reptilian elite. I'm not sure where this even came from, but it's the idea. And so it's that the
That's
they're
reptilian.
coming! Shit!
Go, go, go.
No!
Where's the shoe? Where's the
Ow!
shoe?
Son of a bitch! I just stabbed myself in the eye!
Start rolling.
can go.
Alright, so yesterday we left off as the government was chasing after us and we had to leave. But this time we're
Scary
prepared.
shit, dude.
We've got our hats. They can't track us
Can't-
anymore.
We found this
Catch
weird
metal
kid in the
face.
woods.
No, I came from home.
And so what happened now is we were talking about the reptilian elite and how that's just a totally
He
bullshit.
shot at us.
Well, that's not the
I
reptilian.
think it's true.
You're wrong. It's just a totally conspiracy. You haven't.
No, I haven't.
It's actually the crab people.
I haven't.
So the
Crabs are
reptilian.
reptile?
Yes. They live underwater, don't they?
Mm.
So the reptilian elite is just totally bullshit
It's
conspiracy.
just made up by the crab people.
It's just made up by the crab people. So after there's a
Goddamn
couple
crab
other
people.
Crab
conspiracy,
people, man.
there's a couple other conspiracy theories that are just totally false. Such as we already did Bush to 9/11, we did the reptilian elites. The another one is the hollow moon theory, which is this theory that the moon was hollowed out by the Nazis during World War II, and that they're living in it, planning to come back, kill all our puppies, and then start another master race. And that's just wrong. There's another theory that the
Yeah.
Nazis are in Antarctica, which is also just completely wrong. Like,
I
why
think they're both right. They have
You never
stations.
check, man.
Both.
the moon isn't a hollow moon? It's just wrong, and there's no.
Then how
Nazis.
come there's craters?
Right. So after the
The Truman Show.
That's a good movie.
after the conspiracies that are just wrong, I'm going to talk to you guys about conspiracies that were conspiracy theories and everybody thought was crazy.
There was a
You got me for a
mosquito on
second.
my arm.
Until,
Alright, continue.
until they were proven real. Now, one of the most important ones that's going to be brought up later is that the United States government was spying on us. And this was proven true when Edward Snowden leaked the news about the Patriot Act in about 2008. And one conspiracy connected to the Patriot Act, I
What's that
mentioned it. So we mentioned the Patriot Act in the Bush to 9/11, where it was like they faked 9/11 in order to get the Patriot Act passed. And as soon as it was expiring, they did it again for so they brought ISIS in to say like, hey,
shit, who are those guys?
Patriot Act, 9/11, that whole conspiracy was proven true by Edward Snowden. And that's the big one, is that the United States government was, taking our personal information without any, like they say it's suspicion of terrorists, but actually just yesterday the FBI ruled, or someone said that they could take our personal information without any suspicion of terrorism. So it's just progressing more and more.
Is right?
Okay, Henry.
So,
Oh shit. Sorry.
and so, if even if you're not associated with terrorists, they're still gonna come after you for all you've got.
They're after you anyway, man.
Now, after that, another conspiracy theory that was proven true was Project MK Ultra,
Oh yeah.
which was that the United States
Yo,
government.
can I get in on this action? I gotta talk about
well, we
this.
have our expert Project MK Ultra guy, Jeremy Rifkin here. He's gonna need his hat.
Alright, you're gonna have to.
And then
He's gonna talk to you guys about Project MK Ultra because he's an expert on it.
Alright, so it's this crazy thing that was started by Nazi scientists after the Nuremberg trials. And it was started in like the 50s.
That's when
and
they
went
arrested all the
through
Nazis.
to the 70s, like the early
Put them in the
70s.
moon.
And what happened was these CIA scientists would kidnap these people off the streets. All right, and they were like prostitutes and hobos. They were human trash, pretty much. And what they would do is they would give them insane doses of LSD to try to find a mind control drug. And so they did this for like 20 years before there was an investigation after
come out?
Watergate.
It almost.
Okay.
And then after Watergate, they investigated the CIA and they found out about MK Ultra, but the head CIA director deleted all of the MK Ultra files. So we don't know everything. And Devin's theory is that since MK Ultra, it kind of failed. They couldn't really find a mind control drug to be used on the Soviets during the Cold War.
They just made people crazy.
Yeah, it just made people crazy pretty much. But so what Devin thinks happened is they have now leaned on the media as a mind control device.
It's subtle manipulation.
Subtle
They're using
manipulation.
fear,
And
right?
so,
Is that right?
Yeah.
I think we should switch back out unless you want to stay filming or you want to come back into
I like filming.
You like filming? Okay. Jeremy, you're going to stay in here with some comments now, right?
All right.
All right, so then I'm going to connect a couple things. I'm going to go a little off topic here. He mentioned Watergate. Watergate was a conspiracy that was proven true. It was the idea that Richard Nixon was spying on the DNC. And it was this whole thing like, wow, how could our president do that? But then it turns out he sent 14 people into the DNC headquarters.
Flashlights and shit, and like the shredded documents, right?
Yeah, he just kind of conspired against him, and it was this whole thing until, like, oh well, that can't be true, our president can do that, until the tapes were released where it was, him spying. They turned out this whole big thing. Nixon got impeached. That's what Watergate was, and then
I thought he quit.
well,
Oh yeah, he got impeached and he quit.
he got impeached, and then I think it was Jimmy Carter was his vice president.
No. It was some dude, Garfield, some shit like
Lyndon B.
that.
Johnson,
It was not Andrew Garfield. He was in like the
Spider-Man.
Garfield's the only one I remember because he was the cartoon.
I hate Mondays.
No,
The whole big scam. But then his vice president, who became president after he was impeached, pardoned him for all crimes, so he never got tried. And he just kind of vanished. He became like a
Like golf, and he was an alcoholic or something.
That's a lot. Maybe it could be true.
All right,
Alright,
let's
he's played
keep
golf forever.
going.
So then other conspiracies that have been proven true is back in the 1930s during the Great Depression, the United States put a prohibition on alcohol, which meant they would bootleg some of this alcohol towards the people, so anybody who would buy it would be poisoned and they died. And there was over 1,000 confirmed deaths
Killed a mafia and stuff.
in New York City, just New York alone, from I mean, it was sort of fair because it was illegal alcohol, but they still bought it, but a lot of people died. The United States government just killed off their people because they weren't following the law. And if that happened,
They could still be doing it today, man. Like,
yeah, they could still be poisoning stuff today.
Fuck capitalism.
That's
Right.
I guess.
We're at 10 minutes.
Oh wow, that's
Well, for this session.
And then after that, another one that was proven true was, I don't remember, the syphilis experiments, those
you didn't
were?
talk about. You didn't talk
Yeah,
about.
yeah, that was,
syphilis yet.
That was the 60s, right?
No, that was like the 30s.
Oh, well,
It started in the 30s and it didn't get revealed for like a
Oh,
long
I
time.
just know that now.
Yeah, that was a stinker right there.
We're in
So,
the woods. That has to be like really
You've heard.
bad.
so in the 1930s, they would go to Alabama and they would inject black men in what they said it was like vaccines or something.
Yeah, yeah.
But really they were just injecting them with syphilis to see if they could combat it or if they were immune to. I don't even know why they did it.
They just hated black people.
Yeah,
was the
That's-
30s, man.
That's the
very-
reason.
And then, so they would poison, or not poison, give these men syphilis, which is a pretty bad disease. For those of you who don't know, you die a painful death if you don't get treatment for it. And a lot of these men probably
And
didn't
you
know.
go crazy and
A
stuff,
lot of
right?
these men, yeah, a lot of these men probably didn't know what it was, and they just died painful deaths because the United States government was just giving them syphilis for whatever reason. Now, connecting back to the racist government, in the 1960s, during the peak of the civil rights movement with Martin Luther King and all those, there was a CIA-sanctioned group. I don't remember exactly what it started with. It was OPI.
OPI.
Oppenheim.
Their main goal was to suppress civil rights movements, so they would go to these rallies for it or whatever.
They told. Wait, I got one. The CIA. They sent a letter to MLK, told him to kill himself.
They did?
Yeah, there's a letter. It exists, dude. It's on the internet. They fucking mailed him a letter, and they're like, "Hey, kill yourself."
Yeah, so the CIA had these sanctioned groups, and there was this idea like, wow, the government is trying to suppress these civil rights movements, even though some would say they're for it. Evidently they were not trying to help them, they were just going against them, like the Black Panthers, Martin Luther King's group, just all the civil rights groups, they were just complete, god damn, dude. They were just messing them up. So we were talking about the government, how they were separate. So those were just conspiracy theories that were true, and it just was the government against the people. And there are more instances that I didn't listen to this for obvious time constraints. Like, we're trying to make this video as short as possible, but it's just
Very short video.
and so they were
Very relevant historical information. Too.
All
Very
these-
informative.
all these
You need to watch this before you like go to college and shit. Like, this is more.
all these governments were trying to just like ruin the people in so many different ways.
They just hate us.
The
Governments have
reason we're
aliens.
wearing the tinfoil hats is to prevent the gamma wave radiation from it entering our brains, and because the government made the cloud, the chemtrails.
Chemtrails are the idea that the government is using the steam vapor, which is this is one of the ones that are just completely false. But they're using the vapor that comes out of planes, just the overheated steam after like the plane engine or whatever, that they're putting chemicals in there, and there's several different concepts. One is that they're manipulating the weather, and there's different scales of that one, like they're choosing when to make it rain, etc. And then the higher scale of that one is that they're putting nano mirrors in the waves to reflect the sunlight and mimic or take away global warming. And this is how the planet really is. They've just been fit to make us think that we're crazy. And the other chemtrail stuff is that they're preparing black goop in the vapors, and it's coming down, and it's slowly prepping the earth for aliens when they come by.
Fixing the atmosphere for them, man.
Exactly, like
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
prepping.
did you talk about Roswell?
Oh shit, dude,
Roswell,
I got one.
that's
I got
the big
one.
one.
So the government, right? They put fluorine in fluoride, right, in the water, and fucking keep us from like.
A lot of people believe that the
Because
fluoride
there was
is
there was
just...
a test right on rats, and like it made the rats like more like calm and shit.
Really? I didn't
Yeah,
know
they
shit.
gave like a bunch of fluoride to some rats and made them like really like docile and calm.
I don't
Oh my
drink
God.
Tap water, maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't drink tap water either.
I do, because it's good for your teeth. Right?
But it's not good for your mind!
Maybe it's not even good for your teeth. Maybe they just say that.
I think it's good for you, because my dad, when he was growing up, he drank well water, and his teeth are really shitty.
Well, maybe just because you drink out of a fucking well.
That's probably true.
Anyways, so the chemtrails thing is just completely wrong, and there's too many weird speculations about it, and that they're prepping the earth for aliens, and that they're manipulating us with those chemicals. The real chemicals that could be manipulating us is fluoride, as said by Henry.
Let's get on to Roswell.
So moving on to Roswell,
Roswell
in the
kid.
1950s, there were reports of a man seeing a flying object, and it landed in his yard. And he didn't know what it was because it wasn't an airplane. And then he had the government come by and take it, and they took it, and then all reports of it have been erased, and there's like no pictures of it or anything.
Or were they?
Yes,
I winked there, but you couldn't see it.
they were erased.
Yeah.
They were definitely
Really?
erased. And the idea is that they took this UFO, that there were aliens, and they took it to the Area 51 base in Roswell, which they use for military testing, but they've never fully come out and proved
Yeah.
that. Which I guess if it was for military testing, they couldn't. But there's been too much activity where people are like, wow, that's not a plane, and it goes missing, and all this stuff disappears, like the original Roswell UFO, where all these reports disappeared, and the government was like, yeah, it was just a weather balloon.
That's where Tupac lives, dude.
No,
He didn't
dude.
die,
No, he
just
lives
moved to
in
Area
Cuba.
51.
Yeah,
He moved to Cuba.
Yeah.
Hitler moved to Argentina.
He died though. Tupac is still alive.
Yeah, well, Hitler died alive.
Tupac killed Hitler.
Well,
That
Hitler
could be
killed
true.
Hitler, so Hitler can't be that bad of a guy if he killed Hitler.
Hitler's
I mean,
killer.
like-
There's
But
some
then-
guy in my school that wrote a story called Hitler's Killer, and he didn't know that Hitler killed himself.
Seriously?
Yeah.
He allegedly killed himself. There was no body
He
though.
could have
Yeah,
killed
there
a
was no
decoy.
body. It was turned out that the body that the Russians burned belonged to a woman, and the Hitler body just wasn't his at all. So that's a whole different. It's just another fucking. There's so much lies the government doesn't tell you, and we have this idea that we can trust them.
I think we've gone enough. I don't really feel like doing this anymore.
All right, well, hold on. I still gotta talk about
You're making
conspiracies
me.
that were not proven true,
on your
but could
goddamn
very
hat.
well, but could very well be true. You can see they're sending waves to his mind as soon as his tinfoil hat
He's
is
trying to
up.
stop us. You're like, Jeremy, stop them.
The landscapes, and then there's one where there's two identical rocks, perfectly identical rocks, right next to each other, side by side. And I don't know about you, but I have never, ever seen two like completely identical ridges and everything.
Like
rocks.
right there and right there.
No, those aren't. You gotta look at the rocks. Look at that. None of them are identical. Look
Yeah,
at the
but
rocks.
if I use a fucking camera from 1960 whatever, like it look the same.
No, they wouldn't.
1969.
That's the year.
And then there was one where it's as soon it's
Why would you do this?
so as you know, when they would walk on the moon, they would make footprints in the dirt or whatever. But the thing is, when their capsule landed, there were no imprints on the ground whatsoever. There was no sort of disturbance on the ground. It was as if it had just been placed there and the landscape was built around it. There would be pictures up for everything you see. And it's just, there are too many things that couldn't be explained. There were too much motivation for the government to completely mess this up. The main one being they needed to beat the Soviet, Russia, and the space race. And a secondary reason being that JFK had promised that we would make it to the moon before the 1960s were over. The first moon landing that actually succeeded was in 1970. It was the Apollo 13. Apollo 12 was also fake, but Apollo 13 has actual video footage, so we can verify that's true.
Video footage of 11 and 12, but like the video. It's like where the farm from all stuff
It's
from
fake dick.
The ground. And so there were just too many reasons to fake it. Like Soviet Russia had beat us by putting Yuri Gagarin in space before we had even put a man in space. So we were like, we need to just put a man on the moon. That'll show them Russians. And so that was
dirty Russians.
Yeah.
Hey,
Commies.
Hollow moon, hollow moon.
I am 1/8.
I'm
I want to
1%
connect
Russian,
to
okay.
June.
I'm offended.
And triggered.
Check.
I'm triggered. Alright, let's.
So then
Yeah.
another, moving on past that one, the foremost one, another conspiracy theory that has not yet been proven true, but very well could be true, is the United States government is manipulating the media and using subliminal advertising to you know, make
Brainwash us. And you see, what's been going on is there are these shell corporations that these big organizations.
the Panama
use.
Papers.
Yeah.
They
Damn, dude.
showed all these high-level people evading taxes by
Putin
sending
and,
things
like,
to Panama.
Emily Watson and like
Emily Watson.
Emma Watson.
That's not what I'm talking about at all.
Okay.
There are these shell corporations that, like, these big companies like the CIA and the FBI, they use them and they gain intel from.
Oh, so like you register for them, and then they take whatever information you give them. That's brilliant. That wasn't even my idea. There was one.
Jeremy got a match on Tinder.
Nice.
There was
Good
this.
job, Jeremy.
There was this thing in, I think it was 2012 or 2008, in the presidential election. There was some advertisement that had flash for a frame, "Republicans are rats." It was some Democratic ad,
It's true, man.
and it flashed for like a frame. And the whole idea was that this frame, you would remember it in your mind, even if you didn't like fully remember
The
it.
message would be in your mind.
It would be like a subconscious memory thing, and you would remember it. And so many people believe subliminal advertising, and there was proof that subliminal advertising had been used before. I don't remember exactly where or how, but it had been. And so they're taking this information that they gather from you, that they're taking from you, as we know by the Patriot Act, because they've never released how much information they took. They told us that they were only taking suspected terrorists, but there's
Snowden
more.
said it was like all the info.
Yeah, Snowden said it was all
If you
the.
ever like said bomb like in a text, like they have all your shit.
Yeah, and so like they're going as loose as they can with this definition. And God trust is an illusory concept created by those who take comfort in a false sense of security. It's all wrong, and the idea that we can trust anyone, most importantly,
Just
are
like-
wrong. There's too much shit, shady shit that goes down that we don't know and that they won't tell us about. And it just gives you so many reasons. Like, we know the government has been spying on us. We know they've done mind control. We don't know that they could be taking this spying on us and still doing subliminal messaging, because we know they have corporations out in the public. We know they have agents everywhere, and they're just watching us. You tap into everything. Big Brother is always watching, and there's nothing you can do to stop it.
This is where the revolution begins.
Gotta go with the flow.
This video with
Dun, 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 dun.